So I was thinking before, what crops do well? Because I might mention it in my monthly videos. And then I remembered tomatoes. So if you recall, I had a ton of tomatoes in the freezer. So I think there's at least 6 bags of them in there. The yellow cherries did very well. Now that's not all of them. Bear in mind, of course, I'm still getting them. But what we decided we'd do is a different sauce. Normally I do an Andy special. This one is going to be Putinessca. G'day folks, Andy here from McDowell Manor. I do have the recipe here. I'm not going to type it out or do anything like that this time. What I'm going to do is tell you about the lovely lady who does this stuff. So let me show you her book. Now, there are no affiliations between us. I've never met her or anything like that. I bought 3 copies of this book. One for my daughter, one for a friend, and one for me. It is the best cookbook by far that I own. It is an absolute ripper, and it was reasonably priced. What I like about her is I'm not quite sure how to say her first name. Mihashi, believe it or not, I actually find easier than that. I think it's Nagi, but apologise if it's not. Anyway, really good recipes, really easy. So I'll direct you to her website, which is recipetineats.com. It's a cracker. That's where I got the Putinessca sauce from. I've got a bolognese sauce in her book, but I think I want to go the Putinessca because it's different and it's vegetarian. So that works good for me. I'm not a full-time veggie, but I like to have a lot of vegetarian meals. We sort of only tend to eat meat rarely these days, probably twice a week, 3 times maybe. But all right, well there, having said all that, I really do recommend this lady. She's got a social conscience. They provide free meals to the homeless and the poor. Isn't that wonderful? Let's get on with the Putinessca recipe. So step 1, I cut them in half so I can check I have no unwelcome maggoty little visitors, because that's, as you know, that's a real problem for us folks in the warmer climates. Now I like to work on them before they get just too soft and mucky, so they're sort of semi-frozen. They've been out sitting for a while, but you can see there's still a bit of ice in the bags and stuff. So I do them like this, check for maggots. I remembered this time, the regular viewers will remember I had to resort to using the big ball pressure canner as a pot because I couldn't fit all the tomatoes in my biggest pot. So I've learned from my lessons, and there we go. We'll cut all these open and throw them in there. Now, I'm not going to bore you making you watch me cut 6 full bags of cherry tomatoes. So we'll be back soon. There, for example, is proof of the pudding for why I do that. I obviously don't want that in my sauce. Jeez, it took a bloody long time to cut that many tomatoes. Holy cow. Anyway, it's done now. So there she is. We're ready to go on with the next few steps. So the original recipe is actually based on 1 can of tomatoes. So I would estimate I added 6 equivalent to cans of tomato. So that means I'm going to multiply everything in this recipe by 6 as I do it. We'll see if that works. So we are actually having pasta and salad tonight. So what I've done is I've cooked the pasta and I've taken off 3 cups. So it's half a cup per can, and I'll keep that until when I start cooking the Putinessca sauce. I will explain that I can't possibly follow Recipe Tin Eats' method for fairly obvious reasons. I don't know where the heck I would store this much tomato for one thing. So I'm going to do it slightly differently while sticking with her overall general approach. So she cooks everything in a skillet, which clearly I'm never going to get away with. Even if I use one of the bigger ones. Yeah, nah. So what I'm going to do is fry off the garlic, the anchovies and the capers. It's absolutely fascinating to me that there is no onion in this. Anyway, I know she's bloody good. We've done about 10 of her recipes and everyone has been fantastic, so I'm quite happy to stick with her ways. So what I'm doing here is peeling and finally dicing 12 cloves of garlic. Remember, I'm multiplying everything by 6. Diced garlic. Now, it says 3 anchovy fillets, which works out 6. 18. It's a bloody lot of anchovy. In fact, it's the whole bottle. Literally the whole bottle. But I'm going in trusting Andy, trusting. 6 tablespoons of drained capers. As it turns out, guess what? That's right, the whole bottle. This is making me worry. 200 grams of, well, it's 180 technically, so not quite half a bottle of this 400 gram bottle. There she is. So those are the ingredients along with the chili flakes that you're meant to add first and fry off. So in the pot that you're going to cook it in. Well, I can't do that, can I? So what I'll do is I'll fry them off in here and then I'll just transfer it all over to the big pot and start garlic's in, and we're going to fry that till it browns. Now you do need to be careful with garlic because I know it burns really. It's just starting to brown and I've certainly released the aromatics, so I'm going to put the rest of it. She says just to cook this for a minute, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. There is now quite a large pinch of home done chili flakes added to that as well. In about a minute. It actually smells bloody delightful. It really smells good. I'm about to add that into the pot of tomatoes. Add 6 teaspoons of oregano or oregano, depending on where you live. Not quite a teaspoon of salt and pepper. A teaspoon and a half of sugar and a bit of fresh basil. So narrowly avoided a trap for young players because it says to divide by 2 if you're using the dried oregano. So that's exactly what I did. That'll be a teaspoon and a half of sugar, and then we'll go out and get some. So if I was using her recipe, her ingredients, the fresh basil would probably be the sweet basil, but I've only got bush basil, and bush basil, if you've ever had it, is really strong. So I might add 2 tablespoons, but that's about it. For those who don't know it, that's actually what bush basil looks like. That really is a very different beast to normal basil. I think I did mention that we had a quick and dirty out of a bottle pasta tonight. The reason I did that was I wanted the water out of cooking the pasta itself. 3 cups of that water is about to go in. Have the final mix. All I've got to do is boil that for 10 to 15 minutes and should be good. We'll soon find out. So note to self, this is cooked now. Actually looks very good, smells very good, and I may have licked the spoon and found out that it tastes very good. Hang on, I'll just turn that light off because I know it flickers like hell. So what I'm going to do, note to self, next time, chop those damn tomatoes and throw them in a food processor so they're actually diced. What I'll do is use a stick blender and I'll try and avoid the most of the olives and see how we go. And I'm not going to get too carried away with it, but let's see what happens, shall we? Aside from not thinking about processing those tomatoes, it's actually ended up pretty damn good, and I'm really happy with the flavour of it. It's just what's going to happen when I have to do the unthinkable and start to blend some of this. And well, we'll see. I don't want to turn it into soup. I'll just put that out there for you. So they're 1/2 pint jars, which for most of us is 500 ml thereabouts. Close enough's good enough. There's 7 of them, 7 5s are 35, so it's 3.5 litres of sauce. The sauce is absolutely delicious. I may have licked all of the utensils at the end, but I was smart enough not to leave any evidence. Shh. So these will go in the fridge tonight, and I'll can them up tomorrow. Absolutely. I didn't add a thing. It didn't need extra salt. It didn't need extra sugar. Nothing. So all of my fears about, God, a whole bottle of anchovies and capers came to no avail. Not that normal people would make this much sauce. But anyway, you got the point. Came to no avail. I promise you, this lady will never let you down. You can trust her cookbooks, regardless of how strange the recipe may look. Give it a crack, because they really are wonderful. All right, folks. I hope that was entertaining for you, and I'll see you again soon. Hooroo.